Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
I used to think our street was the kind of place where nothing surprising happened. We have a newsletter a retired teacher puts together once a month. We have a book club that never quite finishes the book and a group text where people argue about fireworks and raccoons like those are two political parties. If you'd asked me to describe my life in one sentence, I'd have said, we grill on Saturdays and complain about the lawn on Sundays. My name is Adam. I'm 42. A project manager for a company that builds mid-size warehouses and pretends they're innovation hubs. My wife, though the paperwork hadn't caught up yet. Clara is 37. She works part-time for a local interior designer, which means our house has better lighting than our budget. Our son, Ethan, is 14, taller than me in photos now, stuck somewhere between boy and almost man, the kind of kid who says it's fine about everything, which is never actually true and almost always easier. We moved into this neighborhood when Ethan was 3 and still thought sidewalk chalk could fix the world. We made friends the way you make friends in suburbs, through proximity and shared grievances about traffic and school pickup. The Wilsons across the street. The Moraleses next door. The Browns on the corner whose dog acts like the HOH heir. We've had a decade of shared holidays and borrowed ladders and text chains about who has a staple gun. Our kids grew up together across driveways and backyards, barefoot conspirators carrying Nerf guns and fruit snacks. If there's a soundtrack to our neighborhood, it's the sound of grills and laughter and the clink of coolers. Every couple of months, somebody rolls a grill into the cul-de-sac and calls it a block party. We bring folding tables and sit in clusters and pretend we all like coleslaw. The August one is the big one, after vacations, before school, when the air is thick and nobody wants to talk about homework yet. That Saturday, I was in charge of the corn. Not because I'm the best at it, but because my instincts told me if I claimed a task early I could avoid the committee assigned to who makes the playlist. I seasoned 12 ears like they owed me money and lined them up on the grill next to burgers that refused to be medium. Kids ran through sprinklers. Somebody handed me a beer and then another. The sun did that late summer thing where it pretends it's going to be kind and then remembers it's August. Clara looked beautiful. She wore a blue dress I'd seen a dozen times, the one with the little white flowers that made her look like the version of herself who says let's just go and actually goes. She had her hair up in a way that made her neck look like a decision she'd made on purpose. She laughed with Tessa from 2 houses down, with Jack from the corner, with our neighbor whose name has always escaped me because he introduces himself like a punchline. She moved through the crowd like a host, placing a hand on someone's elbow, refilling a cup, smoothing a napkin. She's always been good at those micro-kindnesses, the ones you don't notice until someone stops doing them. John Morales, the unofficial photographer of our block because he has the nicest phone and zero shame about organizing people, decided we needed a group picture. He herded the adults toward the big maple by the sidewalk and yelled, "Closer, you cowards." We squeezed in front of the tree while the kids orbited, sticky and loud. John had a new selfie stick, which he showed off like it was the moon landing. He backed up toward the street to get us all in, almost tripping over a scooter. "Nobody move," he said. "I'm going to make us look like we have our lives together for 5 seconds." He took 3 shots. We cheered like that was a thing that deserved cheering. And then we went back to burgers and corn and the sudden realization that you will never have enough eyes in your life. Group photos always hit the neighborhood chat before the grill cools. Our chat is called Maple Court because we're literal people with a limited imagination. I saw the ping on my phone about 20 minutes after John's offense against Hart. I wiped my hands on a towel and opened the thread, ready to see a dozen versions of the same joke. Tag me. I blinked. Who invited the raccoon? The photo looked like we'd rehearsed being happy. Sunlight behind us, a tree pretending to shade, everyone slightly flushed. John had used a filter that smoothed out the years and made us look like we sleep 8 hours a night. Comments rolled in. Cuties. Summer crew. Frame this. Then a message from Chelsea 2 doors down, LOL what's happening behind the gazebo, eyes emoji. A few laughing emojis, the kind people send when they aren't sure if they're laughing with you or at you. I squinted at the photo. The gazebo is at the far end of the cul-de-sac, a little wooden thing the HOA bought with fines from people who leave their trash cans out too long. In the background of John's shot, between the slats, in the shadow, there were 2 shapes. A man and a woman, close in a way people stand when they're about to say something that will change their afternoon. It was the background blur, the kind you ignore unless someone points. Someone had pointed. "OMG, is that?" Someone wrote. "No way," smiley face emoji, someone else added. "Get a room, not an RHOA," another brave soul threw in. I laughed, lightly, because this is how neighborhoods work, you make jokes to keep the wolves at the edge of the yard. Then the joke ended for me. There was a blue dress. Little white flowers. A profile I know better than my own. An angle of a shoulder I've put my hand on 1,000 times. The man's face was half-shadowed. I recognized the baseball cap, the one our neighbor Dan wears on weekends like a uniform. You know how people in movies drop a glass and it shatters and they just stand there? I didn't drop anything. But I did have the sensation of a floor disappearing under me in a way that made all the sound in the cul-de-sac go distant. Kids yelling. Someone laughing too loud. A dog barking at a sandwich. All of it a room over. "Guys, it's a trick of the light," someone posted. "Don't be messy. A kindness, or a dodge." Then John, who loves a puzzle, sent a zoomed-in version with a circle drawn around the shapes like an indictment. "Okay, but what is this?" he wrote, just enough plausible deniability to pretend this wasn't a courtroom. Clara was across the way by the drinks stable, talking to Dan's wife, Allison. She laughed, head back, hand to her throat. I looked at the chat again. "Looks like Clara's dress," someone typed. 3 dots. The 3 dots felt like a firing squad forming. I put my phone in my pocket like it might stop the fire from spreading. I didn't stomp. I didn't run. I walked across the lawn with an expression I practiced on the way, half smile, the one men use when they've decided to go into a burning building like it's a meeting. "Hey," I said casually, picking up a bag of ice I did not need. "You seen John's masterpiece?" Clara smirked. "I'm tagged in it 10 times. "Everyone's talking about the gazebo," I said, low, like we were extras in a scene and the microphones were off. She blinked once, a small movement that might have escaped anyone who didn't know her eyelids. "People are bored," she said lightly, and then, softer, "Let's not do this here." Dan came up behind her with a bag of chips and a face like someone had described an accident and he didn't know if he should go look. He glanced at Clara. She glanced at him. I've watched couples share looks for years, coded language you can only translate if you have the key. I had the key. I hated that I had the key. I didn't make a speech on a lawn. I didn't throw a drink or demand silence like a TV character. I went back to the grill and finished the corn and told 3 people it was almost done and told one person I needed 5 minutes because the grill needed to rest, like we do with meat in marriages. By the time we carried food back to our house, the photo had circled the block digitally and physically. "Phone's out. Did you see?" Whispered like a new weather pattern. "Must be a prank. Clara would never. Dan's not that dumb. It's the angle. It's definitely the dress." At home, Clara loaded plates into the dishwasher and slammed it just a notch harder than necessary. The noise made me think of a hotel door lock, the kind that resets itself when you leave. Ethan hovered by the entryway, half in, half out, sensing trouble like a dog. He's always been good at knowing which rooms are safe. "Mom? Dad? Are we going back?" he asked, pretending he wanted to, already hoping we weren't. "We're taking a break," I said. He looked at Clara. "Is that your dress in the picture?" He said it flat, like a reporter. 14-year-olds are often accused of apathy. What they actually are is careful with hope. Clara looked at him and then at me. "It's a dress a lot of people have," she said, which was not an answer and we all knew it. Ethan's face changed in that small hard way faces do when they realize adults are willing to look them in the eye and move the truth to a place with worse lighting. He went to his room and closed the door, carefully, which is worse than slamming. Clara leaned against the counter. "Not here," she said. "Not like this. Please." "Okay," I said, because I could give her that. "Tonight. After dinner." A pause. "Your parents should be here." "My parents?" she said, almost laughed. "We're not 12. They know how to sit in a room and tell the truth," I said. "Sometimes." she sighed. Fine. I'll call them. We ate quick, stupid food at the breakfast bar, the kind of dinner that announces itself as a holding pattern. After, I texted Dan, "We need to talk." "Not tonight." He sent back a single thumbs up that felt like a confession in sign language. Allison texted Clara something that lit up her screen for a full minute with dots before landing as, "We need to handle this." Neighborhood theater. Clara's parents arrived like a committee, her mother with a casserole, because bringing food to trouble is how she controls the variables, her father with a face like a ledger. We sat in the living room, the good room where we pretend not to talk loudly because the cushions are a lighter color. Ethan came downstairs, sat on the arm of the chair by the window, arms crossed, expression built from YouTube and observation. Clara's mother started with a preemptive strike. "We saw the picture," she said, like she'd been served with the document and wanted to contest the jurisdiction. "It's obviously a joke. Or a misunderstanding. People have too much time." Clara's father looked at me, not unkindly. "Adam," he said. "What do you think you saw?" I pulled up the photo, the circled version, the zoomed crop that made my stomach feel like it was falling for the 10th time that day. "I think I see my wife," I said. "I think I see Dan." Clara's mother waved a hand. "Honey, it could be anyone." "It could be," I said. "But isn't." Clara didn't look away. She didn't perform innocence, which I found myself perversely grateful for. "It's me," she said. "It's Dan." The room got very small. We were stupid. We were hiding. It wasn't supposed to be anything. Her mother made a noise like someone had stepped on a habit. "Clara," she hissed. "Don't say that in front of your son." "In front of him," I said, "is exactly where we say things. He's already in front of it." Ethan stood. He looked taller than he had that morning. "So you did it," he said to Clara, and his voice had rust on it. "You did it. In our neighborhood. While I was, what, playing capture the flag." Clara took a step toward him, stopped. "Ethan." He shook his head. "The betrayal with teenagers is in the parentheses, you, of all people." "Don't," he said. "I don't want to hear it." Clara's father exhaled. "How long?" he asked quietly, the accountant in him doing a math he didn't want. "A few months," Clara said. It was stupid." Her mother rallied. "Stupid as a haircut," she said. This is, she couldn't find a word that didn't make her daughter into a headline. "This is not appropriate for a house where a child can hear." Clara's father turned to her mother, tired in a way I've never seen. "He wasn't just a neighbor," he said, the line landing with the weight of an edict. "He was a friend of the family." He looked at me and his eyes were wet. "I'm sorry, Adam." We argued. Not the kind with dishes. The kind with philosophy. Clara's mother wanted to call this a lapse and then close the book because in her system closing books prevents house fires. Her father wanted to catalog injury and assign responsibility like a list, who calls whom, who apologizes to who first, who moves out temporarily to a place with laminate floors. I wanted a version of my life I could recognize and a plan that didn't involve my kid's heartbreak as background music. Ethan watched. He didn't cry. He did something worse, he analyzed. He took the words and sorted them into boxes like he was managing inventory. Then he said, "I don't want to live here if Dan can walk by our house and pretend to be normal." His voice shook on normal. He looked at me. "Can I stay with you if," he didn't finish, which told me he didn't need to. He already knew the rest. "You're staying with me," I said. "We'll figure it out." I didn't look at Clara. I couldn't give her that glance yet, the one that asks permission we didn't have. Clara stayed in the guest room that night. Her mother offered to stay too, because martyrdom is her love language. Her father sat in the kitchen after everyone had gone to bed and drank tea like it was whiskey. I lay awake and listened to my house make its small sounds, the hum of the fridge, the tick of the cooling oven, the sigh of the air conditioner. In between those sounds, I heard another, the pinging of the neighborhood chat rolling on, people using humor as a tourniquet. By morning, the photo had migrated beyond Maple Court. Someone sent it to the PTA thread. Someone blurred faces and posted it to the neighborhood Facebook group with a caption that could charitably be called concerned. The original picture stayed in our chat, now full of defensive jokes and loud silence. John posted an apology disguised as a shrug emoji. Dan sent a message to the men's side chat that said, "Gonna be laying low for a while," which is the least helpful use of English I've experienced in a decade. Ethan left for school early, hood up, backpack heavy in a way that made me hate physics. He didn't say goodbye to Clara. He didn't look at her. "I'll pick you up," I said. He nodded, eyes on a place a little above my shoulder like he was trying not to cry out of respect for science. Clara and I set appointments. Lawyer. Counselor. The doctor's office where someone who doesn't know us calls our last name into a hallway like we're there for something simple. We told Ethan's school counselor because teenagers need adults at school who know the plot and aren't in the cast. Allison texted me privately. "I didn't know," she wrote. "I'm sorry." I believed her. She is not the kind of woman who doesn't know. She is the kind of woman who knows and doesn't broadcast. She said she'd ask Dan to leave. He moved into a rental on the edge of town that has the same beige paint inside as every other apartment ever built. People kept asking me if I'd talk to him. I didn't. Not then. There is a window between truth and dignity and I was still opening it. Clara's mother called daily to say everything but "I'm sorry." Clara's father came over twice and fixed a hinge, which is how some men confess love when words feel like betrayal. He looked at Ethan the way men look at their daughter's children when they've just seen the most adult thing a kid can see. "You okay?" he asked. Ethan said, "I'm fine." The word hung there, naked. One afternoon, a week after the barbecue, I found Ethan in the garage, shooting free throws at the slanted hoop we bought from a neighbor who swore it was regulation height if you stood on a book. He missed 3 in a row, swore under his breath, then made 5. I watched and then took the ball. "I missed 2. I'm not talking to her because you're divorcing," he said, wiping sweat with his shirt. "I'm not talking to her because she knew I'd see it every time I walk across the street." "She's trying," I said. He shrugged. "So am Madge." Clara and I sat in counseling. She said the sentences I knew were coming. I felt invisible. "You were always busy. I wanted to feel wanted." She also said the thing that wasn't in the cliché, "I did it here because I wanted to make it real." And now it is. And I hate it. I didn't invent my own innocence. I looked at the places I'd filled my calendar with industry and left my house to make itself small around me. Counselors are good at getting you to say sentences that embarrass you. We had a file full. We told the truth to the truth's limit. We told our friends we were taking space. We told the HOA we didn't care about the gazebo anymore. We told the chat nothing, because the chat is a hungry god and we were done making offerings. School started. Ethan sat alone the first day by choice. The second day, he let his friend Caleb sit with him and pretend not to see him not talking to his mother at pickup. Teenagers are more loyal than adults give them credit for. He brought home a form I had to sign for something no one needs. He asked if he could still go to Dan's when all this was over. "No," I said without a lesson attached. He nodded, because the lesson was already clear. 2 months later, the maple turned red like it was auditioning. The chat posted photos of leaves and Halloween decorations and a lost cat that was not lost. The barbecue photo is still in there if you scroll far enough, another browser tab in our shared life. People don't bring it up anymore, except sometimes at night and whispers to spouses, "Do you remember? The gazebo looks the same." I don't. Neither does Ethan. Neither does Clara. We're separating. Slowly. Kindly, as much as we can. Papers and calendars and the business of being a family that refuses to make the child pack the suitcase for the trip he didn't book. Clara is seeing a therapist. I am too. We talk about Ethan more than we talk about anything else. He talks about us less than he talks about the physics of a jump shot and the math of dinner. That's okay. His brain deserves better projects. Sometimes, when I'm out front and the sun is doing its late afternoon optimism, a neighbor walks by with their dog and says hello in the careful way people greet those who've lost something they can't name. I wave. I go inside. I make pasta I still overcook because my mother told me to. I call up the stairs, "Dinner." Ethan comes down, eventually. We eat, talk about nothing, and mean everything. The other night, I scrolled back to the photo. I didn't zoom in. I looked at our faces in the foreground, a crowd of neighbors pretending to be a family for 5 seconds. We were, in the way communities are. We are still, in a different way. We wave. We show up with soup. We move trash cans. We don't take pictures of background anymore. I used to think nothing surprising happened here. Now I know surprise is not always a stranger. Sometimes it's a dress you've seen before, a shadow behind you, a choice made where you thought you were safe. You learn to keep your eye on the foreground while respecting that the background exists, too. You make better corn. You teach your son to square his shoulders at the line and follow through even when the hoop looks skewed. You say goodnight to a house that doesn't sound the same. You sleep anyway. And on a Saturday in October, when the air is finally honest, you roll the grill back out and let Ethan invite his friends over without asking permission. They eat too much. They leave their shoes by the door. They laugh like sound is a promise they can keep. And for a few minutes, the picture in your head, the one without background noise, isn't a lie. It's just a photo where the only thing that matters is that you're in it. Thank you for listening my story. If you want more raw, real, and gripping stories like this one, subscribe to the AEN Stories channel. Your support keeps these stories alive.